I'm going to start today by reading to you a portion of the Bible. It goes like this. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel saw a dream and visions in his head as he laid in bed. Then he wrote down the dream and told the sum of the matter. And Daniel declared, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of heaven were stirring up the great sea, and four great beasts came out of the sea, different from one another. The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. And then I was looking, and his wings were plucked off, and it was lifted up from the ground, and made to stand in 2 feet like a man. And the mind of a man was given to it. And behold, another beast, a second one, like a bear. It was raised up on one side, and it had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth. And it was told, Arise, and devour much flesh. After this I looked, and behold, another one like a leopard, with 4 wings of a bird in its back. And the beast had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, terrifying and dreadful and exceedingly strong. And it had great iron teeth, and devoured and broke in pieces and stamped what was left with its feet. And it was different from all beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. That's in Daniel chapter 7, verses 1 through 7. What do these strange words mean? There are many other passages in the Bible that look just like this one. How should we understand these types of texts? Many people have read in these and in many other similar texts predictions regarding the end of the world and the terrible things that can happen before it comes. We are curious, and our anxiety about the future, danger, tragedy, and death often lead us to be fascinated by predictions of what is going to come. For this reason, there are pseudo-prophets who become famous and sometimes wealthy guessing the future. Also, this is the reason why many people read the Bible to decipher predictions and possible prophecies about what is happening and what is about to happen in the world. However, the future belongs to God. On one occasion, the disciples asked Jesus if he would restore the kingdom of Israel in those days. But Jesus answered them, It is not for you to know the times that the Father has appointed in his own authority. Acts chapter 1, verse 7. On another occasion, Jesus also said, But of that date and hour no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. Matthew chapter 24, verse 36. The Bible was not written to give us detailed accounts of the events that are happening in our days or things that are going to happen in the years to come. How then should we understand texts like the one we read at the beginning of this video? If we read a little more down in the text, we see that Daniel himself gave the interpretation of his vision. He said, These huge beasts, which are 4 kings which will arise from the earth. Chapter 7, verse 17. Daniel also referred to these 4 kingdoms in chapter 2, when he interpreted the dream of King Nebuchadnezzar. The kingdoms or empires are Babylon, Persia, Greece, and Rome. See Daniel chapter 2, verse 32 and 34. It was a succession of pagan empires under whose power the Israelites were going to live for the next 5 centuries. The 4th kingdom was Rome, under whose rule Jesus was born. But why does the Bible speak in these terms? The Bible is the Word of God. That is, it's communication from the Creator. We also communicate with each other on a daily basis through the Word. But we use different genres to communicate. We have news, we have songs, we have poetry, culinary recipes, manuals, posts on social networks, and several others. We use a wide variety of genres to communicate our messages to one another. In the same way, in the Bible, we find various genres. We have laws, we have stories, prayers, songs, letters, and various others. God speaks to us using various styles of communication. There is a genre in the Bible with which we are not very familiar. We call it the Apocalyptic genre. It is particular to the Israelite people, especially from the 6th century BC. For this reason, sometimes we don't understand it, and many readers end up misinterpreting it and even abusing it. God communicates with us to transform us, not just to inform us or entertain us. The apocalyptic Word of God does not provide us with a summary of final events before the end of the world. It appeared when the Israelites suffered the devastating tragedies of war and oppression. In the midst of hunger, disease, and violence, they articulated their message in this genre. Several books using this genre were written after the massive deportation of Jews to Babylon and the subsequent ups and downs of their history under the rule of powerful pagan empires. And God also inspired various biblical writers to communicate his message in this apocalyptic genre. What does God want to tell us? The message of these texts seeks to shape our attitudes and our character, facing the chaos and the suffering that accompanies our existence in this world. I will mention here 3 messages communicated to us in the apocalyptic texts of the Bible. First message: this literature confronts us with the fact that there is a real and painful fight between good and evil. Evil, with all its fatal consequences, is real. We can be optimistic regarding our life and our future, but we also have to be realistic. Evil, chaos, tragedy, and death are just around the corner. We have to learn to be faithful and to fight against hopelessness and loss of faith. The realism with which this biblical genre confronts us leads us to a genuine sense of reverence. In an interview with José Manuel Vidal, director of the Digital Religion Project, he was asked about the fear of the coronavirus pandemic. And he rightly pointed out that there are 2 kinds of fear. There is a fear, a terror that destroys, breaking the network links of life and putting everyone against everyone under a God who is a monster and makes us irrational. And there is a fear that is respect. It is the principle of learning and change on the path of a life that has been given to us, knowing that we don't own it. Apocalyptic biblical literature inspires in us that kind of fear and respect. It leads us to be transformed, following the impenetrable ways of God. Additionally, the apocalyptic language instills in us the conscience that allows us to trust whatever the circumstances. We know that God is present, He is in control, and He leads us to a final victory. As chaotic as this world may seem, we maintain hope and don't lose faith or sanity. We learn to be persistent, and generation after generation we face adversity with the fervent desire to participate in a new era in which good and life will prevail. We instill the same hope in our children and our grandchildren. Furthermore, apocalyptic literature shapes our consciousness to understand that our suffering in this world is valuable, like the pains of a woman in labor. Creation suffers, Paul would say, and we also suffer for life to triumph. In the book of Revelation, in the New Testament, the central figure that gives meaning to the whole story is Christ. He is presented in the image of a slain lamb. Christ's sufferings in the terrible cross is the paradigm for the suffering of all creation. The world suffers because of our selfishness and ambition, which seeks to strip and to destroy others. This is a suffering of death and destruction. In the face of the chaos that selfishness generates in our planet, apocalyptic literature gives us awareness so that we can suffer to promote life as Christ did. We follow His footsteps towards pain and death, but not because we feel powerless, but because we are ready to suffer as those women who suffer pains to give birth to a new life. Let us stop reading the apocalyptic writings of the Bible to satisfy our curiosity. Let us not seek to strengthen our faith with the idea that the Bible is being fulfilled in the news of our day. Rather, let us read the apocalyptic genre so that the Word of God forms our consciousness and transforms our lives. This way, we can be better and join Jesus in his fight against selfishness and evil, which generates death. Let our suffering, our diseases, and our death become seeds of life in the hands of the Creator of the universe. Thank you very much for watching this video.